It's currently 10:24 p.m. I use this Sharpie marker, this dual tip for the ultrafine lines, because on this dual tip, the fine tip bleeds a little too much for my liking. And I use this one for the fine tip sized lines, since I think on this dual tip, the ultrafine side is a little too dry for my liking. I have plans on coloring the cap hat all green. I did all of the lines on the rim. I just have to now do all the lines for the cap itself. These are all Sharpie markers I'm either going to use or have already used for this personal project to serve as a prop character for the upcoming 99th Dan Hamming episode. Essentially meant to be another member of the trailer park community. I didn't really start this project until the evening, because it took me some time to decide exactly what I wanted to do. With that personal project. The jeans are generally going to be this color with a trim of this color. And these Sharpie markers will be used for the mask I'm going to give this character. Part of the reason why that plan took so long for me to decide it took a while for me to come to a decision to work on the next prop character for the 99th Dan Hamming episode. Because I knew I had left Beaker, my in-progress drawing of Beaker from The Muppet Show, back at Mom's place. So I couldn't work on Beaker. Here, but regardless, I did bring all of the Sharpie markers I've used thus far for the Beaker drawing. But I don't want to take any markers out of that bag and risk losing track of it unless I absolutely have to. For this new project I'm working on in the meantime, I want to be able to resume work on Beaker as easily as possible. I recall around 9:45 in the morning, excuse me, I had my first technically not my first morning cup of coffee, but first cup or so from a pot Dad made for the morning, by the way. They're never full pots of coffee. Maybe most of the way full, but not completely full. This is a dessert that Dad's mom made. And gave to Dad. It's certainly something new for me. In total, she made 2 of these, one for me and one for Dad. I think it's an apple with some kind of breading. I have this piece of paper towel so I can itch my nose without directly touching it with my fingers. And risk getting my fingers dirty. Today I recall having at least one plastic glass partially full of cold brew. Before that first cup of morning pot coffee around 9:45 in the morning. I think at that time it may have been more around 5 or 6 in the morning. But it was pretty good cold brew. By cold brew, I mean coffee that was made and then left in Dad's refrigerator. Perhaps cold brew is actually a little different from that definition, but either way, it ends up being the same for me. So I call coffee left in the fridge cold brew. At the time I had that same first morning pot cup of coffee, I had a bowl of that granola cereal Dad always gets, with milk. This glass of milk, it actually comes from a gallon of whole milk that had a date of January 12th. Most of it's gone now, but today Dad wanted me to drink it up so as to avoid wasting it. I had a glass of milk around 1 p.m. along with 2 Texas Hots that I microwaved for a minute. And what was left at the time of my last cup of the morning pot of coffee. I think by that point I was on my second cup. Then around 4:30, I had another glass of milk with 3 Texas Hots, and then around 6:15 p.m., I think at that time I was just starting. "6:15 p.m., I came down for a glass of water. And saw Dad with a bag of Skinny Pop popcorn, so I had a bowl of that with a glass of milk. At that time, it was at the time in which I had just started working on drawing the rim. I think it's technically called a winter cap. I just started drawing the front of that rim. At the time, at points while working on drawing on polystyrene with Sharpie markers, these little hairs will get on the marker tip, and I'll have to use my fingers to get that little hair off. And I'll mark up these fingers, getting a bit of wet paint on them. And then I'll have to wait a little bit for the paint to dry so I don't unintentionally mark the polystyrene while working on it. Some of these fries were pre-seasoned, but for the steak fries that Dad cooked with the seasoned fries, he put on peppers, sea salt, some of our leftover spices from last Christmas, the one before last year's Christmas, and some olive oil. It really turned out pretty delicious. I assume these not so edible parts of the apple, the breaded apple dessert, were parts of the core of the apple. I assume this is a whole apple with 2 berries inside of it. A little bit before I started filming the first part, Dad invited me to try a few of the fries while he was getting his portion ready. And they were good then too. Only a little bit of time passed between then and me starting to film the first part. I remember catching up on the backlog of my dinner videos. First, a little bit towards the late morning, and then again towards the late afternoon. And I recall in the early to mid-afternoon, I worked on the 2022 polystyrene drawing slideshow by going into Vion Studio, where that intro and outro for the project, the slideshow, was, converting it to 1080p, downloading it, using the snipping tool, to take screenshots of the intro and outro so I could add them to the Camtasia project. Then I downloaded standard jazz bars from Audionox, a website by Jason Shaw, since I ultimately decided that would be good music for the slideshow. The slideshow, it's kind of a video meant for looking back, so I felt that music would sound nice and nostalgic. I made a few drafts in order to test out some things with the intro and outro in terms of scaling. The video itself doesn't seem to be a full screen, so to speak. So ultimately, with among those few drafts for the second one, I managed to somewhat remove some of the black borders around the intro and outro, but at the cost of compressing the intro and outro horizontally somewhat, but it's still readable, but it is noticeably compressed. Right now I've got Camtasia 2019 and Vion Studio open, prepared for work on the 99th Dan Hammond episode, though haven't really done any work on the episode yet. Though I have started work on the new prop character for that episode. It's a little cold currently in this room. We at last got some snow, our area. So it's a little cold, but nothing that's terribly uncomfortable, just feels a bit cold. It's still quite pleasant here. Besides, I hear that a room that's a little cold is ideal for falling asleep. So in a way, it's even a good thing.